Now, whether you're just learning to play guitar or you're a seasoned pro that plays in front of tens or hundreds of thousands of people 3 nights a week all over the world, one of the best tools we can have as guitar players is a good tuner, because if your guitar is not in tune, nothing's going to really sound good, right? Of course, a good tuner should be accurate, right? That's kind of a given, but a good tuner is also one that is really good for what you play, how you play, and your particular situation. So today we're going to take a look at 3 very popular options for types of tuners. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons of each one, and we're going to figure out which tuner is the best for you. And as we go through these, let us know what your preferred kind of tuner is and why. And if there's anything that I've missed or left out, let me know in the comments down below as well. All right, here we go. All right, so the 3 kinds of tuners we're going to talk about today are really common, very popular tuners. They are the phone app, the clip-on tuner, and the pedal tuner. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first option, the phone app. Okay, so there are several different phone apps out there for guitar tuners, and the one we're going to take a look at today is the Fender guitar tuner, partly because I looked at the App Store downloads and apparently it's the most downloaded, so I'm going to say that most of us are going to have that one. Also, it's free and it's the one that I have on my phone and the one I use. So some of the great things about using a tuner app is that generally they're free, right? There are some paid ones out there that have some special stuff or whatever, but generally they're going to be free, so it's kind of hard to beat free. Also, it's on your phone, so chances are you take your phone with you just about everywhere, and so that means you're going to have a guitar tuner with you. Another great thing about the app is that it's just software, so there's a lot of features they can add in there that might be kind of hard to add to a pedal tuner or a clip-on tuner, those kinds of things. So if we look at the Fender app again, you'll see we have several different options here for an auto tuner. So you pluck a string and it's got all those going for you. They have a manual tuner, so you can tune by ear if you want to. That kind of stuff. And they have a pro tuner that works more like some other, like a clip-on tuner or pedal tuner might. But then you also have these settings here. So you can choose different kinds of instruments if you want to. You can change your reference pitch. You're probably going to want to leave it at 440. That's kind of a standard. Also, you can do custom tunings, but they already have some options kind of pre-programmed in here. Of course, standard. You got open G, open D. You're going to half step up, half step down, full step down, drop D, drop B, and dadgad. And so there's going to be some really popular options that you might want to try and experiment with, and they're already programmed in here, and it just works pretty well. So those are definitely some good things about the guitar tuner phone app. All right, so let's talk about how to use the phone app tuner. It's not exactly rocket science, right? But going through this is going to help us kind of talk about some of the maybe shortcomings or cons of using this and why it might be good or not good for certain situations. So I have my trusty tuner here, and obviously it is going to use the microphone on my phone. So to do that, I want to get it close to my guitar, and I want to point the microphone at the guitar. So the way I usually do that is I just set it right here on my leg, like so. Sometimes if I'm over there, sometimes if I'm over there at my recording desk, I'll just set it on the desk. So that's definitely an option as well, but you want to get it nice and close. And then of course you just choose the setting you want, like that, and you pluck the string. And it tells you if you're sharp, flat, or right on, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to bore you with tuning all of my strings. Pretty straightforward, right? Easy to use, all that kind of stuff. But it also brings up some thoughts about when this might not be a great option. So it's using the microphone as we talked about, right? And I'm at home in my home studio in this nice quiet environment, and it works great. But if you were on a gig or a band rehearsal and you got a bunch of other noises, it may not pick up your guitar very well or at all, or you might get some other sounds that it's picking up as pitches, and it's going to throw things off. So not a great option for noisy environments. Also, again, because we're using the microphone on this, it requires a loud enough sound source to hear it. So the acoustic guitars work great, but let's say I'm playing my electric guitar. And so I have it right here, and if I'm plucking a string, it works. It's a little trickier. It has a harder time hearing it because this is a lot quieter. And you might say, well, normally you'd be plugged into an amp and that'd be really loud and all that stuff. And that may be true, but a lot of us are using amp sims on our computers or whatever. And maybe we're recording and we have our headphones on and it's not coming through the speakers. So if I was tuning with this, it'd be very much like this situation right here. So it can be a little bit tricky like that. Also, like a bass guitar, it's probably really not going to hear it well at all, even in a quiet environment. All right, so back to the acoustic guitar. Another thing is you got to have some place to set it, all right? Like I said, I usually put it here on my leg or on a desk or something like that. But if you're playing a coffee shop, even if it's quiet, this isn't really particularly convenient. You're going to have a phone on your leg the whole time, or you're going to have to set it down and pick it up or have it on a chair, and it's just not super convenient. There may be better options. So that's definitely something to consider. Also, again, not a big deal at home, right? If you're just practicing whatever, but on a gig or whatever, if you got your phone, you got it, and maybe the screen locks, or you got to unlock it, find the app, and open the app, and choose your settings, and that just takes some time. Again, not the most convenient option in like a gig situation. And of course, if your phone is low on battery, it could end up dying, right? That happened to me actually right before I started recording this. And so I had to plug it in to give it some charge so we could do this. It's just another kind of thing you have to keep up with. If you're at a coffee shop and it dies on you, you got to plug it in. Now, again, not the most convenient option. So where or when does the phone app make sense? If you're practicing or learning guitar and you're at home, it makes perfect sense. It's easy, it's handy, it's right there. Again, especially if you're just getting started and you don't want to invest a bunch of extra money into fancy stuff, free, right? Also, if you're over at your friend's house, whatever, and you have an impromptu jam session or whatever, you're borrowing a guitar or whatever, you can use this as a tuner. I've used this at guitar stores. You go to a guitar store to check out a guitar and it's way out of tune. I've used this to tune it up. And so it's definitely handy for those kinds of situations. And as I've kind of mentioned before, places and situations it doesn't make sense, I would say band rehearsals, gigs, stuff like that, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If it's all you have, you could probably make it work. But there's probably better options for most of us. Next up is the clip-on tuner. So if you don't know, this is a clip-on tuner right here. It's a tuner. They're small, and they have a little clip right here, hence clip-on tuner, right? So clip-on tuners are great because they're super easy to use. They're generally really affordable. I got this one on sale at Sweetwater for like 13 or 14 bucks. You can find some cheaper than that. And this is a really good one. I highly recommend this one. It is the Unitune from TC Electronics. Not sponsored, just really like this one. Another great thing is they're easy to keep with you, or at least with your guitar, right? You clip it on your guitar and it stays there. So if you're practicing your guitar at home, you put your guitar in the guitar stand or whatever, when you come back, it's still right there. Unless you have kids. Sometimes kids might take it, right? But that's beside the point. Generally, it's right where you left it. And also, they're easy to throw in your gig bag or whatever, your pedal board case, something like that. Because they're so small and lightweight, you can just toss it in there. So another great thing about these. They're super convenient because once you clip it on, your tuner's always right there within reach. You don't have to worry about pulling it out of your pocket, picking it up off the ground, off the desk, whatever. It's just right here all the time. And of course, they're not nearly as affected by outside sounds because it's not using a microphone. right? It's using the vibrations of your guitar to detect that and tell you if you're in tune or not. So it's not going to be nearly as affected by outside vibrations like a phone app is. And of course, they're accurate, especially the newer ones. I had some a long time ago, kind of when they first kind of started coming out. And I wasn't always super impressed with those. They would be really hard to tune because it couldn't quite detect it very well. But these newer ones tend to do a really good job of detecting the vibrations and telling you if you're in tune or not. All right, so let's talk about how to use the clip-on tuner. Again, this is not rocket science. It's pretty simple. You clip it on, and I'm going to clip it on this way so you can see it. This one has a swivel for different angles, that kind of stuff. But generally, they just have a button. You push. It takes a second to come up. Once it does, you pluck your string, and it tells you if you're in tune or not. So E. So again, not going to bore you with tuning all of them, but that's pretty much it. This one's chromatic. There are some other options and functions, not a lot, but some on this one. Most of them have some kind of alternate function. I typically just stick with this one. Now let's talk about some things you might want to consider regarding the clip-on tuner. Some things that might be thought of as shortcomings or cons to the clip-on tuner. One thing that I've run into, it's not a big deal, but depending on the headstock shape of your guitar and how the clip mechanism works, some headstocks might be kind of hard to get this clipped on securely. Like this one right here is pretty simple. It's got lots of room right there. My Les Paul is really easy. It's got lots of room to clip on too. But if you're playing something like a Telecaster, it will clip on up here. But, oh, you just saw it. It spun right there because there's room on this side, but the tuners on this side kind of start to block it. So I usually clip it on down there. There's definitely more down there, and it stays there pretty well. It's just, depending on the headstock shape, you might have to move it to a different location, or you may just have to finagle it a little bit. Another thing to consider, as I said earlier, if you have it clipped on your guitar, then when you set your guitar down, you come back to it, it's right where you left it. The other thing is, though, say you have multiple guitars and you're practicing acoustic guitar, but you play electric in the band, and you grab your electric guitar, but you had this clipped on your acoustic guitar, and you take off without your tuner, right? That could happen. So that's just something you do consider. One of the good things, as we talked about, is that these are really pretty affordable generally. So it's probably a good idea to have 2 or 3 of them. You could keep one in your gig bag all the time. You could keep one in the car just in case, that kind of thing. So it might be good just to have a few on hand. Also, these do run on batteries, so technically the battery could die if you're in the middle of a gig. If you're using it for gig or band rehearsal, not likely because these batteries tend to last a really long time. But it might be a good idea to just keep a spare battery or have a second or third tuner you could just throw on instead. And one other thing to consider, I know some people like to use these for playing live shows and stuff like that. So if you have multiple guitars because of tunings or whatever, different tones, if you only have one clip-on tuner, then you're going to have to remember to grab the tuner off the one guitar, put it on the next guitar, that kind of thing. It's just kind of one more step and one more thing to remember. But again, luckily these are all fairly affordable, so it might be a good idea to have 2 or 3 or 1 for every guitar. Just put them on there and you're good to go. All right, so where does the clip-on tuner make sense? Who is it good for? I would say it makes sense just about everywhere, and is great for just about everybody. They're great for practicing at home. They're, learning guitar or just practicing. They're great for that because they're easy to use. They're quick, convenient, always right here in reach. They're great for like songwriter nights and all that kind of stuff like we talked about earlier. Again, because they're right here in reach and you're not fiddling with a phone app or anything like that. And they're not affected by outside noises if people are talking in the crowd or anything like that. And they're great for gigs and live performances. Again, because they're not as affected by the outside noises and stuff. I know some people like to use these, especially if they play electric guitar. They like to use these on their guitar because that way on their pedal board it frees up one spot where they don't have to have a pedal tuner anymore, and they can put another delay, distortion, reverb, or whatever else they want there. And so it just kind of saves space on their pedal board. And last, but certainly not least, is the pedal tuner. Now, the pedal tuner is probably my favorite option for most situations, at least for personally for my situations. So let's talk about a couple things that make pedal tuners great. First of all, they're really hard to lose, right? They go on your pedal board. Once they're on your pedal board, they're stuck there and you're not going to lose them. They're not going to fall off. It's kind of hard to lose the entire pedal board. So once you have your tuner on your pedal board, you're probably not going to lose it. Another great thing is they're not affected by outside environments at all because we're not using vibrations, we're not using microphones. It is literally using just the signal going through the guitar cable, and so it's not going to be affected by any outside sounds. Generally, they use pedal board power, so you don't have to worry about batteries dying or anything like that, or having to charge it up. It's already using the power that's being supplied to the pedal board that's powering all the other pedals, so you don't have to worry about it dying in the middle of a gig. Another great thing about a pedal tuner is that when you're using the pedal, generally they silence the signal going to your amp or the PA. That way nobody has to hear you tune because, let's face it, no one wants to hear you tune. And as much as most of us like to hear ourselves play, we probably don't want to hear ourselves tune either. And this is also another great option at live gigs and stuff like that. If you just need to kill your signal in between songs or whatever, there's no hum or anything like that going on, it doubles as a kill switch too. A lot of pedal tuners will have multiple functions and options. They're different for every pedal, but they'll have some other features and options that may not be available on a clip-on tuner. So like the one that I have, this Polytune 3 by TC Electronic, you can use it to do individual notes, like a normal, or you can strum chords. And it'll tell you which ones are in the sharp, flat, or whatever. I don't use that too often, but it is an option that's available. But one of the great things about this pedal is that it also has a power output on it. So you can actually power another pedal off of this pedal. And it's got a buffer and stuff like that if you're into pedals. That way you can have a cleaner signal and all that stuff. So lots of different options on the pedal tuner that aren't available on either the clip-on or the phone app. And of course, it's just dead simple to operate, right? You step on it, you tune, step on it again, and you're good to go. So it doesn't get a whole lot easier than that. Another great thing about pedal tuners, again, if you're on the gig situation, you have multiple guitars because multiple tunings or whatever it is, you don't have to worry about switching it out with different guitars like you do the clip-on tuner. Every guitar that gets plugged into your pedal board, the tuner's automatically there. All right, so who is a pedal tuner not for, or what situations would it not be good for? So basically, one kind of downside is that the pedal tuner is going to be more expensive. Generally, they're, $100 or whatever or more. You can find some cheaper ones, but they're going to be more expensive than a free phone app or a $10 or $15 clip-on tuner. Also, if you don't already have a pedal board, then that's going to be an additional expense, right? You're going to have to buy a pedal board. You can run it without a pedal board, of course, just have a tuner by itself, but then it's kind of clunky. It doesn't fit in a gig bag as well as a clip-on tuner, stuff like that, so you're probably better off with a clip-on tuner in that situation. But if you already have a pedal board, you're good to go. And similar to that, if all you need is a tuner with you, say you're going to guitar lessons or something like that, and you just need a tuner, if all you have is a pedal tuner, then you're going to have to take it off your pedal board, bring a power supply with you. It's just going to be harder to throw in your gig bag because it's bigger, so it's not going to be as convenient as like a clip-on tuner. Another kind of downside with a pedal tuner is that it may not work with your acoustic guitar. So obviously you have to plug into the pedal tuner, and a lot of acoustic guitars don't plug into anything at all. There's no way of doing that. All they do is acoustic sound. So a pedal tuner wouldn't work because doesn't have a microphone on it. It's not picking up vibrations. This guitar was that way. And then I installed like a little microphone pickup system in here. And on the back here, I can I can plug in just like that, and now I can use my pedal tuner. So that's one reason I did that. But also if I play out and stuff like that, songwriter nights, a lot of times they want to be able to plug into the PA direct, so that's another reason I did that, but that's something to consider. So who is the pedal tuner for, or in what situations is it good for? I'd say as long as you have a pedal board, you should have a pedal tuner on it. Unless you're one of those people that likes the clip-on tuner, so you have that extra space available, but otherwise, a pedal tuner is really the way to go in my opinion. It's easy for switching out guitars at a live gig or even at home when I'm recording at home. No matter what guitar I pick up, that tuner's right there. Even for my bass, works great for the bass. And also when I'm recording, I'm a big fan of using the same tuner for all the guitars. That way there's no variance or discrepancy or difference in calibration or whatever it is. It's all the same. Plus they're great for practice, they're great for gigs, all that stuff. If you're taking your pedal board with you, you don't have to worry about leaving your tuner at home. It's coming with you anyways. But you know, if you're just now learning guitar or you only play acoustic or something like that, the pedal tuner may not be the best option for you. You may want to consider a clip-on tuner or the phone app. All right, so that's all three tuners. We have the phone app, the clip-on tuner, and the pedal tuner. So again, let me know in the comments down below which is your favorite tuner and why. Maybe you discovered something about one that you actually thought, you know what, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I need that one now for this particular situation. Also, I'm making another video about tips and tricks for tuning your guitar. So if you have any things you like to do for tuning or kind of gotchas or whatever, let me know what those are in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to include some of those in the next video. So thanks so much for watching. Check out these other videos right here, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.